It's really important to clarify that Webb's depth of knowledge, or DOK, isn't about classifying types of knowledge or levels of thinking like Bloom's taxonomy. Instead, DOK focuses on measuring how much cognitive effort it takes to complete a task. In other words, what kind of thinking does someone need to do to answer a question, carry out a procedure, or solve a problem? So while Bloom's taxonomy is very useful for analyzing learning objectives and then making sure that they align with the assessments, Webb's DOK is all about designing those assessments so they truly capture the depth of understanding needed to show what someone really knows. So DOK 1 through 3, like Bloom's taxonomy, is not hierarchical. You don't have to cover one before moving on to the next one. As for DOK 4, this represents a lateral shift from any of the other 3 levels. That means that DOK 1 through 3 is learning in the same context, while DOK 4 is learning to apply that stuff in a new or different context. I like to think about this and explain this in 2 ways. The first way is thinking of the first 3 levels as different rooms in a building. The function and purpose of the room is what matters, not what floor you find it on. Then think of level 4 as a totally different building, and you now have to navigate it using what you learned in the first building. The second analogy I like to use is to think of DOK in the context of a video game. I'm sure many of you watching this have played Mario Kart before. Even if you haven't, I'm confident that you'll still get the point. First, let's just break down the component parts of DOK. DOK 1 is learning at the level of recall and reproduction. This is the what of the knowledge you are building. DOK 2 is learning at the level of skills and concepts. This is the how of the knowledge you will be using. DOK 3 is learning at the level of strategic thinking and reasoning. This is the when and why of the use of that knowledge. And DOK 4 is learning at the level of extended thinking. This is the lateral shift of skills, knowledge, and attitudes from DOK 1, 2, and 3 into a novel context. Keep in mind, this is a very high-level overview of DOK. It's much more nuanced than what I'm explaining right now, and I will recommend more in-depth resources that include a lot of great practical examples at the end of the video. But for now, let's just build a basic mental model that we can then later expand on. Now let's root this in the context of learning to play Mario Kart. Recall and reproduction entails what all the stuff is and does. Learning what the controls do, what certain objects do in the game, etc. and so forth. For example, knowing that the A button is the accelerator and that the mystery boxes give you helpful objects like weapons and boosters. Skills and concepts would be how all this stuff is used. For example, the different combinations of buttons that result in aiming and throwing a turtle shell, or leaving a banana peel in either direction to disable an opponent, or how to maintain, boost, and control speed by drifting. Now, strategic thinking deals with the when and why of application. For instance, this is where we identify the most beneficial moment to throw a shell or leave a banana peel, effectively use turtle shells to protect ourselves, or move from the middle to the back of the race to increase your chances of getting a better object from the mystery box, like a bullet that propels you through the ranks. There's much more here, but in the spirit of getting to the point, it's the reasoning and synthesis you use in real time to improve your position in the game. That's strategic thinking and reasoning. DOK 1, 2, and 3 are all used in practice within the context of the topic, in this case, playing Mario Kart, which brings us to extended thinking. This challenges you to accomplish either near transfer, apply what you know about Mario Kart to another racing game, or far transfer, apply what you know about Mario Kart to a completely unrelated content area, like, for example, explaining Webb's depth of knowledge to a bunch of strangers. This gives you the opportunities to manipulate knowledge in multiple contexts and thus deepens your understanding to the point you can clearly explain it from explicit memory and generalize it to implicit memory, which we can talk about in a whole other video. Webb's DOK is a great tool to examine how deeply a student must learn material so we can design tasks and questions to meet learning objectives at that depth.